Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 99.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to discover your true self before the world told you differently. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode. We are almost at episode 100. Yay! That's next week. I have a special interview for you with an overcomer. I love to interview overcomers because I find that obviously so inspiring when people have faced difficult things and turned everything around. So I can't wait to share that interview with you next week. But today on episode 99, yay, I'm going to just give you a little more depth related to your thought life. I love to talk about your thought life. Thoughts are everything. Thoughts are mindset, and mindset is everything. And so I'm constantly talking about that. We just did the thought ladder a couple weeks ago, I think. We're constantly talking about our limiting beliefs, our thoughts, all of that. In my book, there is a 14-step process to help you turn around, conquer your limiting beliefs. And that is worth going through. It's not easy. It's work that's important. And I recommend that you get that book, Master Your Mindset the Master's Way, on Amazon, and do the work to identify those limiting beliefs and turn them into positive affirmations and deal with those toxic thoughts one at a time, eliminate them from your life. But if you look at that in the book, there is a process. There are 14 steps, and I'll let you get the book to examine that. But I wanted to focus on a part of it from the viewpoint of one of my mentors. I don't know him directly yet. Someday I will, but he has mentored me through his books, Dr. Daniel Amen. I think he is fascinating. He talks about the automatic negative thoughts we have in our brain. They're called ants. He talks a lot about how we can turn those negative thoughts around. He does a ton of research and brain scans and so many intelligent things to help us understand our brain and our mind. Two different things, by the way. The brain is the actual physical brain, the actual gray matter, and the mind, of course, is the virtual aspect. But he does so much work in this area. It has been an inspiration for me and for so many other people who want to understand how the brain works, neuroplasticity, how our thoughts work, how our thoughts, which are in our mind, actually show up in our brain from a physical and chemical standpoint. But I want to just go off one thing that he posted about the other day that I loved. And it is part of, in a way, my 14 steps to turning around and conquering limiting beliefs. But this one is just very specific and narrow in a way that you can use almost every single day when you are challenged with or struggling with a thought, especially a thought that you are playing over and over again in your mind. How many of us do that? We all do that at some point, some more obsessively than others, but all of us have struggled with a recurring thought. So how do we challenge our thoughts? How do we do it in real time? How do we do it almost as a natural habit, as a default, as a way to stop a negative thought from taking hold? How do we do this as a process that we can rely on to keep us from going down the rabbit hole of these negative thoughts? Well, a few questions that Dr. Amen says you should ask yourself when you're having a negative thought that you're playing over and over again in your head. Let me read you the questions and then we'll talk about each of them. First of all, is it true? Is what I'm thinking true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? How do I react when I believe that thought? Who would I be without the thought? And how would I feel if I didn't have the thought? Now, those of you that know my book and my process, you'll recognize some of those questions are embedded in some of my steps to conquering limiting beliefs. But this is kind of a little nugget you can use on a daily basis to teach yourself to challenge your limiting beliefs, to challenge these thoughts, to conquer these thoughts that you're having, especially a negative thought that keeps replaying in your head. So first you say, is it true? Seems easy, right? Simple question, yes or no answer. Not that easy. Is it true? Do you know that it's true? Have you actually stopped to ask yourself, is this thought true? Generally speaking, we do not. Generally speaking, we just accept our thoughts. We entertain our thoughts, we play with our thoughts, we mull over our thoughts, we give our thoughts way too much space. We tend to not say, wait, is this true what I'm thinking? Now, it could be anything. It could be, a way that you're looking at yourself, a belief about somebody else, a belief about a situation, a fear that you're having, a worry, whatever it is. The first question is it true? And of course, if you're able to say no, then I would say to you, okay, why are you thinking about it? But often we don't simply answer that yes or no, but we should be able to. Is it true? Very important question to ask yourself. Now, some people would say because they're entertaining these thoughts, and in some ways we enjoy entertaining negative thoughts. I know that seems strange, but it's true. Because we have so many of them, we must. For some reason, as humans, we often like to, punish ourselves and just kind of sometimes wallow in self-pity or misery or worry. And so we will absolutely embrace negative thoughts. So after saying, is it true? And you say to yourself, well, I think it's true. That's why I'm thinking it. Well, you're not really challenging yourself there. So the next sentence says, the next question says, can I absolutely know that it's true? So that opens a door for you. If you're unwilling to admit that maybe it's not true, at least you can say, are you absolutely sure? Are you absolutely sure this is true? And listen, if you are, okay, then it's true. Then you have to decide how to feel about it. But most of us would say, for many things that we struggle with, especially fear about the future, especially fear about what people think of us, or assumptions we've made about situations, none of us can really answer that question with an absolute. Can I absolutely know that it's true? Oh, no, I really can't if I'm being honest most of the time. So then the next thing we ask ourselves is a really temperature check on how we react to that thought. And this is where I like to use that mind of man that I have, that tool where I say, okay, you're feeling something, you have an emotion. It's tied to a thought you just had. What was that thought? What was that thought? That's where we can uncover why we're feeling certain ways. What was that thought that made you have that emotion, that made you have that feeling? So the next question is, how do I react when I believe that thought? And if it's not good, if it's negative, if it's fear, if it's worry, if it's anxiety, if it's all of that, then you know you have a problem, right? You know that there's an issue with that thought. So you have to examine how you're actually reacting physically, emotionally, mentally to having that thought. That is another way to reveal whether or not what you're believing, embracing, whatever, is true or worthy of thinking. And then the next question, obviously, is who would I be without the thought? I mean, we just embrace things without questioning them. We allow negative, toxic thoughts and limiting beliefs to become part of who we are. You hear me say that all the time, and we don't question them. And we become somebody different as a result of that thought. Ask Dr. Amen. He'll tell you your brain changes. The longer you think, Caroline Leaf, she'll tell you the same thing, Dr. Caroline Leaf. The longer you think the same thought, the longer you entertain it, it makes a groove in your brain. It literally changes your brain physically and chemically. So who you are is what you think, really. So who would you be if you stopped entertaining that thought? Who would you be? How would you be different? The next question is, how would I feel if I didn't have that thought? Now, you have to want to do the work. You have to want to get rid of that recurring thought, to get rid of that fear, to get rid of that negativity. You have to want to challenge it. But when you ask yourself these questions, it allows you to step back and try to have a more objective view of that thought that you're having, an objective view of that negative limiting belief, a way to put it in context, a way to find a hole where you can say, wait a minute, I see some daylight here. I don't have to believe this. I don't like the way I feel when I think this thought. I don't like who I am. when I think this thought. In fact, I would like to be free of that. And I would like to feel differently as a result. I would like to be different as a result. Now you say, oh, it's not that easy. Is it really? I mean, is someone forcing you to think that thought? Is someone forcing you to have that anxiety? It is a choice. And I'm not talking about people that have, chemical imbalance issues in their brain or the challenges that come with, mental illness issues. I'm talking about the daily stuff that most people deal with. The choice we make to entertain thoughts. The choices we make simply by allowing a thought to hang around, you've made a choice. You've made a choice. I'm going to believe that. Sometimes you have to say, no, I refuse to think that thought. I refuse to allow that thought to hang around. You do have that choice. In fact, if you don't exercise that choice over time, you lose the ability to make that thought go away. So if you don't use it, you lose it. You do have to exercise control over your thought life. You have to manage your thought life. If thoughts are everything, which is mindset, frankly, and is everything, then shouldn't you be in control? Shouldn't you be trying to exercise control over your thought life? I think you should. I think you should. And I think you should develop a habit, if you can, of questioning your thoughts. Now, you're not going to do it every minute with every thought. We've talked about that before. You have 80,000 thoughts a day, or whatever the number is. I think maybe it's 60,000, 80% are negative. I always get those two mixed up, but it's a lot. It's a lot. We're not going to stop each thought and question it, but you and I both know the thoughts that we have that we need to challenge, the thoughts that make us miserable, the thoughts that we obsess over, the things that control our life and control our brains, the things that have created the structure of the way we see the world that may not even be truthful. You do, if you're honest, you do know what they are. And you've got to be willing and say enough is enough. That's one of my steps, enough is enough. And then start to ask yourself these questions about these thoughts. Is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? How do I react when I believe that thought? Who would I be without the thought? And how would I feel if I didn't have the thought? Those are questions that lead to freedom. Freedom from those thoughts. It's up to you. No one else can do that for you. It's your choice. It's your control. I tell you all the time, your brain is like your storefront. You're the one that needs to control what happens inside of that store. It's up to you. It's got to be at least important enough to you as it would be if you owned a store on Main Street and you wanted to keep out the riffraff and you didn't want your customers yelled at and you didn't want your merchandise stolen. You've got to be at least that concerned about what happens in your thought life, because that's up to you. It's up to me. And we can completely change how we feel every day and the trajectory of our life if we control and conquer the thoughts that are making us miserable and that are serving no purpose except to hold us back. Hope that helps you guys. Can't wait to publish episode 100 next week. Don't forget to join me. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, please visit elizabethnader.com to learn more about the Mindset Maven and how she is guiding high performers to map their mindset to their message so they can effectively express who they are and why their ideas should win. Looking forward to seeing you online.